How's it going, everybody? My name's Parallax Abstraction, and this is the Geek Bravado Ramble. It is February 25th, 2015, when I'm recording this. It's about 8 p.m. And, well, I probably look a little bit better this time, don't I? Yes, hello. Yes, indeed. I have got myself a new webcam, finally. My Logitech C615, which had about 1 billion hours on it, and which owed nobody nothing, to be honest, finally was acting a little bit funny, so I replaced it with a new Logitech C920, which was surprisingly inexpensive, actually. And wow, I should have done that a long time ago. This looks so much better. I actually don't even have the light on full blast here, which I usually need to. It's dimmed down, and it still looks great, so very pleased with that. Yeah, so we're going to see that going forward, which is really cool. So this is going to be another rant video. I did one before on Lenovo's Superfish bullshit, and that's going to be part of this too, but this is going to be a bigger thing. I've been meaning to do this for a few days now, actually, and I wasn't feeling great, and other stuff came up, and blah, 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 whatever. I don't even really know what the point of this is. Most of my blog videos and blog entries, for that matter, tend to have a point. You know, I will complain about something, and then I'll go, but here's what could be done about it, or what should be done about it. And I don't really know if I have that ultimate solution here, other than just do better, fuckers. And yeah, so this might just be me ranting in general. And hey, if you want to rant about your own tales of this nature, which I'm sure plenty of people have, I'm sure this isn't just me, feel free to do so in the comments, and let's just vent it out, shall we? So well, the title I'm thinking for this post is the terrible, no good, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad tech month, or something like that. And if you're around my age, you probably are familiar with a children's book very similarly named that from when we were kids. And that's kind of what it's been. The last month with technology for me, god damn it. If you follow my personal Twitter feed, not my media one, you'll probably see me bitch about this to a fair bit, because I tend to bitch on that feed a lot. Not as much as I used to, but I still do. And my biggest problem is, I don't know what the hell has happened to product quality in the world. And, you know, it used to be you could count on, if something was by a certain brand or whatever, you could count on a certain level of quality, you know? Back in my day, something like that. You know, you could count on certain brands being of certain quality, and you also used to be able to count on from a service experience that if you were fed up with the experience you got in your big box stores, you could go to your mom and pop shops, and they may not always have had the selection, you may have always paid more, but you got the kick-ass service experience, and that's what you shelled out money for. I always do that. I'm happy to pay not only for good quality, but for good service. My Capital Tech Support on-site IT support business is actually a little bit more expensive than the average in this town, because I structure it that way. I try to provide the best service I can, and I say, I'm not the cheapest game in town, but you're going to get a better time with me. And most of my customers would agree with that, I think. My experience the last month with a wide variety of different companies has been anything but, and I'm just fucking angry, and I need to bitch about it. So that's basically what this video is. So allow me to regale you, shall I, with a few of the things that have happened. All of this has been more or less the last month. A couple of it may be like 5 weeks or something like that, but it's basically the last month, okay? So these are in no particular order. I got a list, okay? So I don't miss nothing. So the number one is our dryer. Okay, now this is not all, I call it tech, but it's technology per se, but this is not all computer stuff, though. Looking at it, a lot of it is. So we bought this house about 18 months ago, and this house came with all the normal appliances in it, and the appliances looked to be in good shape, so we took them with the house, and all was good. The washer and dryer that came with this house were fairly high-end Maytag models from around 2005, so 10 years old this year. And right away, we started having issues. The washer walks, and what that means... Oh, hi, Dougie. The washer walks, and basically what that means is during its spin cycle, the machine shudders, and to the point where it actually moves a good couple of feet in the course of a spin cycle. They call that walking. Looked up the problem with the machine and the model number and discovered that that's a very, very common issue. And there's no real solution to it other than replacing like a $700 part or something that just wears out again after a couple of years. Most people said just live with it. And we were like, well, we would rather live with it than pay out the ass for another one of those. So whatever. So we live with that. Well, about a month ago, the dryer stopped drying. It's a gas dryer. It's natural gas powered, which we really like because they cost less to run. And we were like, okay, well, this stuff's obviously long out of warranty, so let's find a place. So my mom knew a guy that she really liked, so we called him. He's like, I can't work on gas stuff. Call this other place that's really good. We were like, okay. Called them. To their credit, I will give credit where credit's due in these stories. These guys, which are called Home Appliance Care, it's a generic name, but does what it says in the tin. They're a local company. Their experience has been great. They've been really, really good guys. So we called them up. They're like, sure, we'll send a guy out. It's probably one of these two things that tend to wear out, and it's not very expensive to fix. We were like, perfect. Guy comes out, takes the thing apart. They said it would take about half an hour. 90 minutes later, the guy's on the phone with Maytag, and I'm like, well, this isn't good. Trying to figure out what the hell's going on. He's got a voltmeter going. He's got the whole bit. And he gets to the end, and he comes out, and he says, okay, you have a fuse that's gone. Now, I was going to show this to you guys to show you how utterly stupid it is. Maybe I'll put a picture up here if I can find one. But if not, the fuse is about maybe this big, okay? If you live in Canada, it's about the diameter of a $2 coin, a toonie. Okay, it's a little fuse, and it's a thermal fuse. Basically what it does is it tells... it measures for when the dryer gets to the heat it's supposed to, and when it does, it tells it to stop drying. If the heat drops a certain amount, it tells it to start drying again. Pretty simple, right? It's like your thermostat for your furnace or whatever. So that's the thing that broke. And he said, yeah, none of our suppliers carry it. They say it's been discontinued. And I kind of stare at him and I'm like, discontinued? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, the dryer's 9 years old. And he's like, I'm like, they don't make parts for it anymore? And he's like, no, they don't do that anymore for the most part. He's like, most appliances these days, they only make parts for maybe about 5 years, and then they start discontinuing them. And I'm like, are you fucking shitting me? I'm like, these were really high-end. These are Maytag Neptune, which was apparently very high-end in 2005. And I'm like, and you can't get the part anymore. And he's like, no, we can't. He's like, we can't get it. They don't make it anymore. And I'm like, so you're telling me that because of this little tiny fucking thing, the only thing we can do now is buy a new dryer, which is like $800 if we don't want a cheap piece of shit. And he's like, yeah. He actually felt bad. Like, I'm making him sound sarcastic, but he felt bad about it. He was like, I'm sorry, I have to charge you to tell you that I can't fix it. And I was like, okay. Fair enough, you can't get it, whatever. I'm like, if I can find the part somewhere, will you come back and install it? And he's like, yeah, we won't warranty it because we didn't sell it, but we'll do that. I'm like, all right, I'm on a mission now. I'm like, no, I will not be defeated by something the size of, a piece of candy. I'm like, no. So I started looking and looking and looking and looking. So I found a million different places on the internet where you can buy this thing. One of the places I found was a website, a Canadian company that is extremely well regarded for customer service, and they listed the part. And I was like, cool. I'm like, we'll get one of those, please. It was like $40, which is a little expensive for a tiny thing, but I'm like, whatever. It's cheaper than a new dryer. So I order it, and they said the order was processed, and then nothing happened. Several days go by, nothing happens. And I'm like, where the hell is this thing? And I look at them and they go, oh, it's back ordered. I'm like, oh God. I'm like, is it still available? And they're like, well, this says it's still available, but it also doesn't say when the back order is going to clear. I'm like, so this could sit in limbo forever, right? And they're like, maybe, yeah. I was like, all right, well, this isn't going to work. So I found a fuse on eBay that had the same part number. And I was like, fucking A, great. Ordered that. Waited for it to show up. Part shows up. I call the guy back out to install it. He looks at it. He goes, that's the wrong one. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's the wrong one. He's like, it doesn't look anything like it. Stupid me, I didn't actually look at the one we had before I ordered this one. But then I did look at it, and they both had the same part number. They don't look anything alike, but they had the same part number. And I'm like, well, what the hell? And he's like, oh, yeah, Maytag does that. Sometimes they have multiple different items with the same part number. I'm like, that's what the hell's a part number for? Is it supposed to friggin' differentiate them? And he's like, I know. I'm like, okay, fine. So I took the original one, took pictures of it, started sending this around to various different websites that sell parts going, do you have this? Most of them got back to me and said, we can't get it. Then I found a website in the States. It's actually Sears, of all people, and they listed it because Maytag sometimes, Kenmore is a rebrand. So if you buy a Kenmore dryer, sometimes it's a Maytag with a Kenmore stamp on it. So they went, yeah, we have this part, and it had a photo on their website. It looked exactly like the one I had. Even the numbers on the sticker matched. And I'm like, perfect. We don't ship to Canada. You gotta, oh God, okay. And I called them up. I literally begged. I said, is there any way you can do this? And she's like, no, I'm sorry, we can't. But then I realized my girlfriend's parents are down in Florida for the next 3 weeks. So I went, can I order it with a Canadian credit card, send it to them, wait 3 weeks, and they'll bring it back to us? And she's like, yes, you can do that. Fucking A. So I did that. Got the email saying your order is processed. I'm like, cool. I'm just sitting at work today, just tootling about, doing what I do. And I had this little niggle in the back of my head saying, you should probably check on that. I don't know why, but I had a little thing that said you should probably check on that order. So I went, okay. Went to their website, looked at the product page. It said in stock still. So I'm like, cool. Log in, check the order page, back ordered. And I'm like, fuck you. What? So I called them up in quite a huff, and I'm like, what the hell? Your site said it was in stock. Your site still says it's in stock. Why is it back ordered? And they went, and they, again, were very apologetic, but they went, we're sorry, something screwed up with our system. That product is on back order. We don't know when it's going to ship. And I'm like, motherfucker, ugh. I was just steaming mad at this point. I had to close the door to my office because I was just so angry. And I was like, fine, cancel it, give me my money back. I found another place online, a website that looks super sketchy that but apparently is well rated. They are based in Florida, of all things, and they have it in stock. They said ready to ship, will ship today. So I was like, and it was cheaper, which was really nice. So I said, here's your money, friggin' get it to them, get it to my in-laws, please. And I haven't heard yet, but I'm going to assume that's good for now. But this is the 4th time I have tried to buy a fuse. 4! I've tried to buy a simple fucking fuse for a dryer that's 9 years old. Like, we lived in a house that we rented before we lived here, okay? And that house had, during the time we lived there, the dishwasher died, and it had to be replaced. That dishwasher, which was also a Maytag, was 30 years old. It was over 30 years old. It was almost as old as I am, for God's sakes. And it was still running, and the only reason it failed, we later found out, was because a piece of wiring snapped. It could have been fixed with electrical tape, but our landlady replaced it anyway. Coincidentally, with a Samsung dishwasher that was a piece of crap and didn't dry properly. But yeah, appliances used to last 30 fucking years. And the thing is, they have not really gone down in price. Like, buying a brand new washer and dryer, a good one, will still set you back $2,000. And now, if you're lucky, you'll get 5 years out of them. You'll basically get to the end of your warranty. And then if it breaks after that, well, fuck you. Buy new ones. And I'm like, I thought appliances were one of the last bastions of product categories where that didn't happen. But it's been an absolute nightmare. We have paid for the appliance guys now to come out twice to not be able to fix it. Not their fault, but we still had to pay for their time, and we're going to have to pay them a 3rd time to come out. After all is said and done, this will probably set us back like $300-400. And if anything else goes wrong with this dryer, then we probably will have to buy a new one. And considering that I'm on a temporary job that could very well go away in 4 months, spending $2,000 on a new washer and dryer is not really something I wanted to do right now. So, yeah. Now, that's probably one of the biggest stories, okay? I wanted to front load with that. I'm already at 15 minutes, but that was the biggest one. Now, what's next here? Let's pick a random one. Well, okay. let's go with my girlfriend's problem. So my girlfriend has a 5-year-old, it's now 5 years old, Toshiba laptop. It still works, but it's slow. The battery's gone. It's had the crap beaten out of it because she bought it when she was in school and she used to travel up north for work a lot. So she wanted to get a new one. And she asked me for advice, of course, and I said, we looked around some, and she really wanted one of those flip-over convertible ones that can turn into a tablet, because she hates our iPad. We want to get rid of that thing, actually, but she wants something that she can leave on the counter when she's in the kitchen and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, you got a lot of options for that. The one I recommended was the Lenovo Yoga, but at the time, the problems with the Yoga was that it was very expensive. It's a good machine, but very expensive, and you can't take it apart. Everything's sealed in it. So battery dies, hard drive dies out of warranty, etc., etc. You can't easily fix it. So instead, she decided to go with a Dell Inspiron 13, which was well-reviewed and a lot less expensive, but had similar capabilities. So we were like, cool. So she bought it. It got here. She used it for a couple of days. And the trackpad in it is a piece of garbage. It's one of the things so many laptop manufacturers cut corners on to pad their margins is the trackpad, and I don't know why, because it's the one thing that will drive you nuts if it doesn't work right, and is a deal breaker for many people if it doesn't work right. And yet this is where they cut corners. The thing was skippy, it didn't respond very well, and it was hardware. It was not something I could tweak and fix. So, and we also had a problem where the thing wouldn't stay connected to our Wi-Fi properly on the second floor of the house, whereas a lot of other things would. Though we later discovered that our Linksys E3000 router was dying, but that thing had 1 billion hours on it too, so we replaced that. So I went back and forth with Dell trying to get this sorted. Their support is Dell went private a while ago, and when Dell became a private company, one of the things that was supposed to change is their support was supposed to get a lot better. It is not. It is still outsourced to hell and gone. Half the reps cannot speak English properly, and I'm not meaning that jokingly. Like, we talked to multiple people who literally, I would say, could not speak English. Like, we could not understand them. We couldn't get the problem solved. She went back and forth. She got transferred from department to department to department trying to figure out what to do with it. She was just furious. And she finally managed, Dell has a return policy, so she finally managed to send the thing back. But it took multiple phone calls to get it to work right and multiple escalations. It was an absolute disaster. One of the worst service experiences I've ever seen. And a product, like, I normally like Dell, but this product was a joke. It was absolute garbage. So she had a nightmare with that. So after that, she decided, screw it, I'm going to spend the extra money and buy a Yoga. She got a Yoga. It's a great machine. She loves it. What did it come installed with? Superfish. Yeah, the thing that I bitched about in my last video. Now, I have to correct that video, actually, because I said in that video that her laptop and mine did not have Superfish. I was mistaken about that. Mine did not have it. Hers did, as it turns out, because the Yoga, even though the model she has is about $2,000, the Yoga is still a consumer model, so it had fucking Superfish on it. I missed it the first time when I was looking for it. I think I read the list too fast. So I used Lenovo's utility, got rid of it, fine, but still, a $2,000 laptop and it came preloaded with spyware. Fuck you, Lenovo. That is fucking bullshit. Thankfully, they are getting raked over the coals for that, and deservedly so. So that was a friggin' mess. Next up, well, again, let's stick with her. Let's get the third thing for her out of the way, is that a few months ago, she bought a brand new 2014 Kia Soul. Very nice car overall, actually. She loves it. I actually really like it too. It's a nice car. But it's got an interesting problem, which is that if you're in the car and the windows fog up, which happens a lot in the wintertime up here in Canada because you get in a car on a cold day, your body heat changes the moisture inside and the windows fog up, you normally turn the blower on to the glass and you blow the fog off, right? Well, for whatever reason, the blower doesn't properly clear the driver's side. Bit of a problem when you're driving along and your window fogs up and you've got the fan going at gale force level and the fog doesn't go away, right? Yeah, well, she's been in a fight with the dealership about that because she took it in and this smarmy douchebag who runs the service counter at Donnelly Kia said, well, we can't reproduce it. There's no problem. There's no problem. He basically kept trying to say it was all in her head. And she was like, no, this thing doesn't work right. This is a safety problem. You need to get it looked at. And the guy kept deflecting and deflecting. And yeah, she's in a big fight about that. Brand new car that cost her over $20,000 and a major safety thing like that, they're just blowing off like it's no big deal, which is a very common thing with car dealers these days. When I bought my used Elantra Touring about a year and a half ago, the transmission was slipping in it. And I ended up getting the transmission replaced, but it took a massive fight with them and basically threatening to return the car for them to do anything about it. Which I'm like, how can you get service like that even when you're spending that kind of money? So that happened. And then, well, we come to something a little bit related to her. So for Christmas, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before, we bought her dad a new desktop computer. He had an old clunker that was running XP. He needed to get it replaced. We found him a refurbished HP Slimline desktop computer running Windows 8 from Best Buy that was really inexpensive and really well spec'd. And again, well reviewed. So I went, okay, that'll work well for him. And, you know, it's a good price, good kit. So we bought that for him. Well, a little while ago, less than a year after he started using it, the motherboard died. System just, you turn it on and the machine just turns off and on constantly. Looked up the problem, very common. Apparently those HP systems, that motherboard had a manufacturing problem in the early run. So they almost all do that. It turns out there was a lot of people who got really pissed off about this because the boards would die just after the warranty, the 1-year warranty ended. So HP went, okay, we're going to add another year of warranty for that motherboard issue so you can get it replaced with one that doesn't do that. Doesn't apply to refurbished systems. I shit you not. Same manufacturing defect, but the extended warranty doesn't apply if you bought the thing refurbished, because refurbished machines only come with a 90-day warranty, which he had long since passed. But still, known manufacturing problem. It was a fucking Foxconn board, too. What a surprise. And, yeah, they were just like, nope, sorry. And they wanted $300 to replace the part out of warranty because fuck you, HP. And to be fair, that's not just them. They all do that without a warranty parts because they don't want you replacing them. They want you buying a new machine. So I just built him a new clone system that I bought on a super combo deal from Newegg, and this is a clone machine, so if anything dies, it can be easily fixed. But nonetheless, he had to spend several hundred new dollars to replace a computer that was practically brand new at the time because of a known problem that HP did with it, which is utterly unbelievable. So he had to do that. And well, now we come back to me. So I have a GTX 970 video card in this computer. I bought it late last year. I actually bought a 770 the year before, but I had a good month of freelance work, and I'd heard how great the 970 was, and I was like, screw it. I can sell my 770, get half the cost back, and I'll buy this one, which I did. And it's overall a great card. It's been really, really good for me, and I've generally been happy. But you've probably read about the controversy that's happened over the video RAM with this thing. Essentially, I'm not going to go into it here in great detail, but this card is advertised as having 4 gigs of RAM on it, and it does. But in order to cut costs to make this card very, very cheap compared to the equivalent from AMD, NVIDIA structured the card in such a way where only 3.5 gigs of the memory are high speed. The remaining half a gig is basically in a very slow part of the card. And if you're playing a game that pushes you over 3.5 gigs, your frame rate tanks. And it's a hardware design. There's no way to fix it. There's been a huge furor about this. Lots of people pissed off. A lawsuit was recently filed against them over it. And all this other garbage. So I have not really run into that problem yet, but it is possible with some of the games that are out right now to run into that, and that really pisses me off. And on top of that, this card, which was an MSI Golden Edition, it was the special edition of the card that cost an extra $50. I'm pretty sure this card is dying because whenever the card is under load, either from running folding at home or playing a game, when you take it off load, so when you like exit the game or pause folding, the screen starts to very badly flicker and do all kinds of weird stuff. And occasionally, if I'm leaving my machine on overnight to do something, I'll come in the morning and find that it froze overnight or it rebooted. And on rare occasion when I'm playing a game, the screen will just freak out, go pixely green, and my system will freeze. So pretty sure this high-end video card is also defective, and it's been doing this pretty much since I got it. So I'm pretty sure that's defective. MSI, who makes this card, doesn't do advanced replacement, so if I want to get it fixed, I'm going to have to send the card out to them for who knows how long, and probably run with the integrated video on this motherboard, which could barely run World of Warcraft on low detail. So that's fucking wonderful. And last but not least, this has been a source of big anger for me, is I recently purchased a Retron 5. So the Retron 5 is by this tiny little company in the States called Hyperkin. It's been out for a while now. When it came out, it initially had a ton of problems with product quality and poor software and all this other stuff, and it had supposedly gotten pretty good. The Retron 5 is basically a console that can play, it uses an Android-based operating system and can play any cartridges from the NES, the Famicom, the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy, or the Game Boy Advance. And also the Sega Master System if you have a converter adapter. And it outputs it through HDMI and 720p. It supports cheats and ROM hacks. It'll do save states. It does all this really cool stuff. And I've been wanting to expand my cartridge collection a little bit. I used to be a huge retro collector, and I had to sell off my collection a number of years ago for financial reasons. But I wanted to build a small one up again of the games that I really loved. And I was really looking forward to that and having an easy way to play them all on one machine that can plug into an HD TV, that can plug into my Extreme Cap U3 to do capture with, to do all this stuff. And it would be so much easier than using the old machines and with, you know, old style component out or composite outputs and all that jazz. It would have been so much simpler. And I was really excited to do it. And I was going to do, I've been looking to do a longer form video project. So I was looking forward to doing a very in-depth review of this thing. It was going to be like a 45-minute to an hour-long video with a ton of editing done to it, a ton of explanations, real deep dive on this. I was really looking forward to doing that. I'd been planning it for months. I finally got the money together to get one. Now, as it turns out, the Retron, when it first came out, actually was very hard to get for a while. There was very high demand for them, and they were hard to find, even harder to find in Canada. Well, I found a retailer in Toronto. It was actually a little mom-and-pop game store called GameShack.ca that had Retrons in stock and was not charging an exorbitant markup on them like the few other places in Canada that were selling them. Like even on Amazon, it was almost $200 to buy one of these. They're normally $150. So they had it for normal price, and they had they're a small mom-and-pop game retailer from Toronto, but they had a website that you could buy from, and I was like, cool. So I ordered one, got it right away. Purchase experience was fine. Tore the thing out, was using it for about an hour the first night I had it. I was liking it. I was like, this is cool. This is working really well. I updated it to the latest software, which apparently fixes a lot of the issues, and I was like, this is really cool. I'm liking this thing a lot. And I was moving games in and out, and it was great. My girlfriend was down in Florida. She found a flea market that had a bunch of cheap games at it, and we also have 2 places in Ottawa that sell stuff like that, so I was going to go out and buy a bunch more stuff. I was like, this is great. After about an hour of use, suddenly the Game Boy/Game Boy Advance slot stopped working. You would put a game in it, and it would just say, no game inserted. And I'm like, what the hell is this about? Couldn't figure out what was going on. Didn't work with anything, but it had worked fine up to that point. A little while after that, the Genesis slot started doing the same thing. A little while after that, the NES slot would only read certain cartridges. The other ones would show up as unknown cartridge, and when you would try to run the game, you would just get a single color screen and the system would freeze. Super Nintendo always kept working, but those other ones kept dying, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? I'm like, this thing is practically brand new. Looked it up. This is one of the many problems that the early Retron units had. In spades, actually. So either I was sold an old one or I happened to get one that was still having issues. So I was like, oh my God, okay. So I called up Hyperkin tech support in California, which is just one guy at a desk, I think. Hyperkin is apparently this tiny family-owned company. They mostly make stuff like cases for your DS and stuff like that. Like they're an accessory maker. Making consoles seems like a project that was way too big for the britches, but nonetheless, that's what they did. And so I call him up, and he's like, oh yeah, I've seen that problem before. You need to do this recovery thing that's a big step and requires a wired controller. I didn't have any wired controllers yet. The wireless controller that comes with the Retron, which is a piece of garbage, by the way, doesn't work with this recovery thing. So I was like, for God's sakes, okay, fine. So my girlfriend found me a couple of Genesis controllers in Florida. So I wait while she was visiting her parents. So I waited for her to come back, plugged it in, did the recovery, didn't fix anything. Long and short of it, didn't fix anything. So I was like, okay, fine. So I call up Hyperkin and I say, look, we need to warranty this thing. And I said, by the way, I don't want to get stuck paying the shipping to you guys because this thing lasted less than an hour. I basically consider that dead on arrival. The guy from Hyperkin says, well, where are you from? I'm like, Canada? And he's like, well, we can't help you then. I'm like, what the hell do you mean you can't help me? And he's like, well, we don't actually sell the Retron outside the United States. And the reason for that is that we're a very small company and we haven't figured out how to handle the shipping costs yet. So he's like, we don't actually sell it out of the US. He's like, where did you get it? And I'm like, I got it from a retailer called GameShack.ca in Toronto. And he's like, they're not an official retailer of ours. They must have imported it or bought it from a third party. He's like, we can't warranty it. He's like, we don't sell it outside the US. We don't warranty it outside the US. I'm like, hold the fuck on here. I'm like, I paid full price for a new in-box Retron 5, and you're telling me that because I didn't buy it in the States, I get no warranty whatsoever? And he's like, yeah, we don't have any authorized retailers outside the United States. I'm like, I've literally never run into that with any product before from any company of any size ever. And like I've worked with all manner of obscure products in IT over the years. I have dealt with companies that are like two Chinese guys in a warehouse, and they will warranty stuff from outside their selling country. And I'm like, and you're telling me you can't do that? He's like, no, we don't warranty it. And I'm like, This is unbelievable. I'm like, you can't sell a product for full price with no warranty. And he's like, we didn't sell it to you. I'm like, he's like, I'm just stunned at this point. And he's like, call your retailer, see what they'll do for you. I'm like, okay, but I'm going to be back if they won't. Because I'm like, somebody's paying for this and it ain't going to be me. So I get a hold of GameShack and I'm like, here's what happened. This product was basically DOA. Hyperkin won't help me. What do I do? And they said, oh, yeah. They're like, you're right. They don't warranty them outside of Canada. He's like, we handle the warranty through our supplier. And he's like, is it under 90 days old? I'm like, 90 days? And he said, yeah, our warranty is 90 days. I'm like, Hyperkin's warranty is a year. And I'm like, you charge full price for this product. And he's like, oh yeah, well no, he's like, we import all the Retron stuff, and he's like, we only warranty them for 90 days through our supplier. That's all we do. And I said, you're not listening. I'm like, you charged me full price for this. You can't charge this full price for a product with less stuff than it's advertised with by its manufacturer. And he's like, well, we disclosed that on our website. If you bought the thing from us, you should have known that. And I'm like, where on your website exactly? Because it doesn't say on the product page anywhere that this does not come with the standard manufacturer's warranty. He sends me to their returns page, which lists their warranty options on it, which has since been changed, by the way. But it said on it that what the warranty was for, what was it? For new games and accessories and used consoles. It did not include new consoles. And I got to see if I can find it. I actually did an archive.today of their returns page because I thought this was going to come up. And I'm like, and I told them, I copy pasted the page into my reply. And I said, please tell me in here where it states anything you just said. I'm like, it doesn't. I'm like, this product is not, you do not say that this product only has a 90-day warranty. And he came back and he was like, oh, you're right. I guess not. He's like, okay, we'll update those pages. And they did. Even the product page now says 90-day warranty. And I'm like, you know what? This product is friggin' not fit for purpose. This thing broke out of the box for me. It's a cheaply made piece of crap, and it is. That was one of the things I was going to say in my review. You would not believe how cheap and plasticky the Retron 5 is for a product that costs $150 fucking dollars. And I was like, no, this is not cool. I said, I'm not going to risk getting another one of these that's going to break again when I only have a 3-month warranty. I want my money back. And he said, okay. He said, we'll give you a full refund, not a problem. You just need to pay to get it back to us. And I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, and this is stated on our return page, and this was stated on the return page. He said, we will only pay shipping back to you if you're getting an exchange, but any returns have to be prepaid by you. And I said, no. I said, this isn't cool. I said, you sold me a product. You misrepresented it by not telling me that it had a restricted warranty. You got me a product that was dead on arrival for all intents and purposes. And I said, and you're seriously, even after you literally falsely advertise the features of the product, you're going to tell me I'm still responsible for the return shipping? And he's like, well, we fixed the bit on our website where we didn't talk about the warranty stuff. I'm like, that helps the next guy. That doesn't help me. I'm like, how about you admit your fucking mistake and say, we'll comp the shipping this time because, we fucked up and your product was dead on arrival. And now that you've stated what the new warranty is, you won't have this problem again. But how about you eat the $20 to $25 shipping charge I have to pay because the box is not light. Even though the Retron is a cheaply built piece of shit, all the accessories and stuff make the box weigh about 3 kilos. I said, how about you eat that mistake this time, and now you've learned for the future, now that you've updated the terms. And he's like, no, we can't do that. He's like, our policy very clearly states this. And I told him, I'm like, isn't this what is supposed to make the mom and pop shop better than the big chain? I'm like, I understand that you're a small business and with small margins, but I'm like, what you try to sell yourselves on that makes you better than the GameStop is your service experience. And I'm like, your service experience is way worse than a GameStop. If I bought a product from them that was defective, I could just walk it in there and friggin' get a new one. If I bought it online from them, I could walk it into their store and get a new one. I wouldn't have to pay to cover their mistake, especially when they lied about what the product does. And he's like, no. He's like, we're not doing it. Sorry. He's like, if you want your money back, that's fine, but you have to pay to send it to us. I'm just like, what fucking world am I living in where you're allowed to lie about a product and then make the customer pay to fix it? Like, what the fuck is this about? I couldn't believe it. And my girlfriend was like, why don't you call MasterCard and reverse the charge with them? And I'm like, you know what? I should, but that's going to become a huge fight. And it's going to become a big thing of he said about who knew what when. And I just got a new MasterCard. It's a really snazzy one, and I don't want to risk screwing that up, even though MasterCard does tend to always side with the customer. I don't want to risk screwing up anything with them. So I'm like, fuck it. I want this thing out of my life. Fine. So I took it to the post office today. I got the cheapest shipping I could get back to Toronto. It cost about $12. And I just went, fuck it. Here it is. Give me my money back. And we're done. Needless to say, I am never buying from GameShack.ca again, nor should you if you live in this country. And if the Retron 5 apparently is getting a second hardware revision soon. So, yeah, sorry, I got a dog hair on me. So if the second revision of that is better than the first one, and someone locally starts carrying it with a proper warranty, maybe I'll consider going and buying one again. But that's an outside chance, because I have been so burned at this point. I don't understand how a company, I don't care if Hyperkin's not a big company, I have never seen a company that spends who knows how much money to develop and market a product like this and does it only for the US market. That blows my friggin' mind. And judging from the number of how cheaply built the Retron 5 is and how many problems people have been reporting with it, it's clear that Hyperkin bit off a project that was way more than they could chew. They are clearly too small a company to take on a project of that scale and do it in a way that allows it to be of decent quality while still turning them a profit. They weren't up for it. They shouldn't have done it, honestly. I love the idea of the Retron 5, but it should have been done by a company who could handle it. Like fucking Mad Catz or somebody would have done it better than this. They clearly just aren't in a position to deal with it, and it was unbelievable. I could not believe the experience I had between that and GameShack, and all of these stories I just told you happened within probably the last 4 weeks, maybe the last 5 weeks. And this is what I wanted to bitch about. This has been a long video, I know, but what the hell has happened to product quality in this world? Like, Yeah, for a long time, there's been various brands out there, things like Acer and things like that that are generally pretty crap, and that people know are pretty crap, and they're cheap and cheap for a reason. There's always been stuff like that. There's always been some amount of low quality products with poor service in the world, and you accept that, and you, as a consumer, you do your research and you try to buy the better stuff, especially if you've got the money for it. But this is the frustrating part, is that I did my research. Almost all the products that I bitched about here, with the exception of maybe the Retron, were all well reviewed. Like supposed professionals who are obviously not on the take or in bed with the industry at all. Gee, that hasn't been a conversation lately, has it? They all said that these products were of good quality. Yet they were all junk. They all had major problems, objectively bad problems. And the service experience, even from companies that are not known for it, was terrible. NVIDIA is known to be a bit of a scummy company industry-wise, but they are known to generally treat customers very well. So is MSI. Kia is a very well-regarded automobile manufacturer. HP has their ups and downs, but generally their computers are thought of as reasonably decent, and not the best in the world, but not the worst in the world either. Dell's the same thing. Maytag used to be, the Maytag repairman ads? Maytag used to be considered one of the most reliable appliance brands in the world. Then Whirlpool bought them. And this is what the lady from the appliance repair place told me. She's like, yeah, Whirlpool bought Maytag just before your washer and dryer were made, and Maytag's quality went through the floor right after Whirlpool bought them, because they started building all their shit in China instead of the US. What a surprise. And just the hell I have had to go through, like small mom and pop companies who clearly were provably in the wrong on something, who refused to accept responsibility for it. Multiple companies in this era of hyper-computerized, efficient supply chain management who can't tell whether they have a product in stock or not, whose fancy electronic system can't tell if a product's in stock or not until after you've paid for it. These companies like Lenovo, who have a reputation for stellar quality and stellar support. I was talking to my boss about this the other day, and we were complaining to each other about Superfish, and I was like, how many links in the chain did Superfish have to go through to get approved to get on there? How many layers of executives and marketing people and engineers and support people and everything else would the idea of Superfish had to have gone through? And either no one said no to that, or a bunch of people did, and some executive at the top thought, oh no one's going to care about this, it's not a big deal, we'll do it anyway. And Lenovo's reputation for quality is in tatters right now. They are in hyper damage control mode. They're getting ripped to shreds, and they should. And just, we've reached an era now where the things you used to be able to expect when you wanted good quality and good service are not there anymore. You used to be able to expect good quality from Lenovo. Now you can't necessarily. You used to be able from Dell, Maytag, that's all gone down the crapper. And even if you didn't want to deal with a big company and you were sick of the big box service experience, you used to be able to count on, a local mom and pop store being able to help. You don't want to... you don't want to buy your computer from Walmart or Best Buy? Well, go to your local mom and pop shop and they'll treat you right. Same thing with video games. You hate the horrible experience that is GameStop? Boy, don't I. Well, we don't have any mom and pop game stores left here in Ottawa for the most part, but in a place like Toronto, you could usually count on going to a place like GameShack and they would treat you right. You might pay a little more, but you get treated like a real human being. Well, not anymore, apparently. I would have gotten, if I was able to buy a Retron from Best Buy. They don't sell them, unfortunately, in Canada because you can't buy the Retron officially up here. If I was able to buy the Retron from Best Buy or Newegg or Amazon and I had the problem I had, I could have gotten it replaced like that for free. I could have gotten my money back and sent it back for free, no problem. I buy it from the tiny mom and pop store. I support them out. What happens? They lie about the product on their site, admit it, and still make me pay to get it back to them. What the hell happened? What has happened? And why? I know the general public will tolerate a lot of bullshit. I mean, the reason big companies provide, especially things like telecom companies and things like that, provide such universally terrible service is because they have a team of people who are paid a ton of money a year, who understand, who have a bar graph that they can show the executives that go, our service can get this terrible before the volume of people who threaten to quit versus actually quit our service crosses the line. So we can provide service that's this inexpensive and thus this terrible, and we won't lose enough customers for it to matter. We'll still make more money. They know exactly how bad their service can be before they will lose enough customers that they need to start improving it. There are people in the world who are paid to figure that out. That is so fucking wrong. The consumer is supposed to have all the power, and it doesn't seem we do anymore. Like, nobody gives a shit. The big companies don't care. They haven't cared for a long time. And now the little companies are realizing that they don't have to care either. Come to think of it, when we bought this house, we got some renovations done in this house when we bought it. We had a new furnace and air conditioner installed. We had some stuff done in the kitchen and everything else. And come to think of it, we called a whole bunch of mom and pop contracting companies to try to look at this stuff too. And we had huge problems too with guys not getting back to us. Or one guy, we actually booked the installation for the new furnace and the guy never showed up. Ever. And we never spoke to him again. We could never get him on the phone. We could never get anything else. He just literally didn't show up. And it's the same thing. Small companies don't give a shit anymore because they've realized that, much like the big companies did, that they don't have to. If everyone's providing shit service, no one has to provide good service because the bar is lowered and the goalposts are moved. I don't know, man. It's friggin' I don't know at what point. There has to be a point where consumers will stop tolerating this bullshit. I don't know where that line is, but we don't seem to have hit it yet. And I really wonder how much more it's going to take. Seriously, how much abuse from these companies are people willing to accept before they start saying, fucking enough is enough. You want my money, earn it. Don't expect it. I don't know. But the last month is just, I have been so stressed out, and I've had I've had nights that I've not slept well because I'm stressed out and angry about this stuff because there's nothing I can do about it as an individual. You know, I can complain to these companies, I can threaten to not buy from any of them again, and for the most part I won't. But I'm one guy, and they know I'm one guy, and there's not enough people willing to do that. I really wonder where the line is for that. It's just it's unbelievable. It's incredible. Yeah, I don't know. It really makes you sometimes just want to fucking go find a cabin in the woods and live off the grid. The amount of stress that people are dealing with now, and some of this sounds like a lot of this sounds like first world problems, I know, but still, you pay for something. Whether or not you are privileged or not, you paid for something, you should expect the damn thing to work. And if it doesn't, you should expect the person to own it. I'm expected of that in my workplace. My customers expect that of me in my business. You know, I should be able to expect it from other people too. And just about every major interaction I've had the last month with a major company over service or even a small company has just been abysmal. And it seems to be the rule, not the exception anymore. And I really wonder when people are going to stop tolerating it, because we've got to at some point, because the bottom can't drop much further, I don't think. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the solution is to this. The solution is that people stop tolerating it. But it doesn't seem that people are content to bitch amongst themselves rather than bitch at the people who can actually make a difference. No one will get in the ring with these companies that screw them over and demand better. And I'm kind of beginning to think of it the way I think about people. You know, they say if you don't go and vote in the election, you don't get to bitch about who's in power. I really think that should get to the point too. I think I'm really going to start saying that to people. If somebody's complaining about bad service or a bad product they got, I'm going to be like, well, did you kick up a fuss about it? And if they go no, then I'm going to go, then quit your bitching. Because if you're not willing to put up a fight, then you really shouldn't anymore. And I'm a little bit of a hypocrite on that too. I should have kicked up more of a fight with GameShack than I did. It was just after this month of this kind of thing endlessly, I was just like, I cannot fight anymore. But that is a failing on me too, so. Anyway, like I said, I don't really know if there's a solution here. I just wanted to bitch about this. This has been a long fucking video. We're at almost 50 minutes now, and I just needed to vent to feel better, and I do a little bit. So I'm sure you guys got your own stories of this. Hey, if you need to vent, go vent in the comments, or vent on the comments on Geek Bravado or on this video. Feel free to drop something in here, and let's fucking hash it out. Let's tell each other who sucks and who we should avoid. I'm I think it's a time we get a good old bitch session going on, don't you? So let's try to keep it polite. Let's not go all YouTube comments on each other in here, but let's yeah. What companies have screwed with you guys lately, and what's been pissing you off? Let's get it out there, shall we? So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This is, even as Geek Bravado Rambles go, this is really out of character, but if you liked what you saw, like and subscribe, blah, 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 I guess. I keep talking about that Star Wars Republic Commando series. I've had weird time things going on between all this stuff, and I'm involved in an interesting project with Extra Life that's going to take some time, but it's going to be really cool. I do hope to start that this week, maybe this weekend. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping I'll have some downtime, and I can do a few hours of that in one shot and get that going. So we're going to do that. There will be more retro flashbacks coming, and we'll have some other stuff going as well. So stay tuned, watch this space, and there is cool stuff in the pipe. So thanks for watching, everybody, and let's bitch this out together, shall we? Yeah, why not? Take it easy, guys. I'll see you later.